YouTubers, welcome back to another episode of K5 Adventures. Today we are going to sprout our very own bean sprouts. And last night I had finished a batch and I posted on a Facebook group called Authentic Thai Cooking, and I got so many responses on how I was so successful at sprouting my own beans. So I figured I'd start a video and walk you through the next 5 to 6 days of how I sprouted my own beans from beginning to end. So to start, I have all of our ingredients laid out in front of us. You're going to need about a cup of loose mung beans. This bag for me has worked, specifically this brand, and I also found it on Amazon. So in the video I will provide the link where you can go down below to go and get it on Amazon if there is no Asian local stores around your area where you can locate this bag. So this is how it looks, front and back. Here I have, it's 12 ounces again, and when I measure it out, it happens to be 12 ounces equal about a cup. Here's a cup. And today, for the 3 layers of bean sprouts that I'm gonna sprout, I'm only going to use 1 cup. And I'm gonna lay it aside, we're gonna wash it, and I'll walk you through the process of washing the mung beans later before we prep it for it to sprout. The next thing you're gonna need is, a good size, I think this is a 4-cup bowl. Any bowl would do. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour this in later and I'm going to rinse it a few times. So this is what this bowl is for, is to rinse the mung beans when I start the process. The next thing you're going to need is these, they're rice summer roll trays. I found them, there's a bunch of them on Amazon. Again, I will provide the link below where you can go to find this type. The link that I'm going to provide is the one that's very similar to this, that the Amazon link will direct you to, but you don't need all of this. All you're really going to need are 4 of these sheets for 3 layers. And I wouldn't go more than 3 layers because once the beans start sprouting, it's going to be really high, and if you go any more than 3 layers of bean sprouts, it's going to get too high and it's going to not grow to its potential height. So again, for 3 layers, you're gonna need 4. If you don't have it, nor do you wanna spend the money, because I know the product is around $17. So for 10 of these, if you don't wanna spend the money, I would just leave it out altogether. So we're gonna use 4 of these. And the other thing we're gonna use is our paper towels. So with paper towels, again, 3 layers, we're gonna need 4 sets of these. And when I say sets, I mean you're gonna wanna rip it up into 2 sheets. So again, these are the normal size Bounty roll of paper towels. So I'm gonna wanna cut this into 4 sets, and my 4th. And we are done with paper towels. And I would say don't even leave out the paper towels because they're in a critical part, because once the beans start sprouting, the roots will come through the paper towel. Also, the paper towels is what is going to be your water basin, let's say. So that's where all the water is gonna soak, and the mung beans are gonna grow from that water source. The other things you're gonna need is, this is a everyday, something I have in my kitchen. It's just a colander. Again, I have the one where it's a double, where there's the one with the holes, and then there's the basin for it. So that's where my water reservoir is going to, all the water is gonna drain through. So it makes it easy for me where I can just dump it out after each watering. So that's why I use this. Keep in mind, there's about, I would say, a smidgen of a gap here where the water's gonna go down. But I find that I need this to be higher once I let the sprouts sit during the 5-day process. So what I needed to also add to this process are these just 3 bowls that I'm just gonna use, and the bowls is gonna act, it's gonna go right in here once I lay it over, and it's gonna act as a higher gap of water reservoir. So once you notice that once I have the bowls in here, that gives me a bigger gap. So basically your sprouts will not be sitting directly in water. And I find that if you have this here, your mung beans sitting directly in the water, it's gonna brown your bean sprouts, and also it might make it go bad because there's too much water. So that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to water the mung beans, but at the same time, let them have enough air, and also it's not sitting directly on water. That's basically what we need. The other thing that you're gonna see is I also brought out these 3 plates that I'm using. Start with originally, and you'll see this later, when I put my mung bean, the last sheet of my rice paper above my mung bean, I'm using a plate that has some weight to it, and I'm gonna put it on the very top after I water it. From my reading, and don't ask me why, you need a plate. You need some kind of light weight on top of the mung bean to give it pressure, and also to help the mung beans while they're growing sprout up straight. You don't want it to go all which way, and you also just want it to go directly up, and the roots of the mung bean to go through these porous slots here on the rice paper trays. So that's where when you cut it off, you'll find it so much easier to do it. So while I suggest getting it, again, it's a little expensive, but this I find is super, super easy, because the first time when I tried it without it, I found that my mung beans were not very presentable. There were a lot of roots, and it was not easy for me to cut. So again, I actually used this plate size, which you can tell it's almost the same size as the rice paper tray. It's about the same, and I use this for the first 2 days of my sprouting process. Then as it grows and gets higher, the mung beans, I find that then I need a plate that is a little wider, because now it's gonna start covering up more of the space of expansion for the mung beans. So this is the next day and a half. Then my last plate that I use, which is much, much heavier and much wider, is the very last day, because I find that my mung beans will grow basically the width of this colander. And I, again, was lucky to have all these size plates. If you don't have it in your home, just try to do the best you can and find the plate size and that has some weight to it. That's gonna give some pressure to when you weigh down your mung beans. And the very last thing that you're going to need is something that is not see-through. This is just a plain old lap napkin. It's dark. You want to find a dark color. It does not have to be black. When I was reading up on it, they kept telling me to find something black. You don't need something black. You can use this, and what it's going to do is it's going to cover it. So you don't want the mung beans to sprout with sunlight. You're going to want to keep it in the dark to help with the sprouting process. The other thing is, if you don't have anything like this laying around, the one process that you can do is you can put it in a black trash bag. Again, you don't want sunlight, so that would be the substitution to the napkin. So let's begin sprouting. We're gonna begin our process of washing our mung beans today, soak them overnight for 24 hours, and then we'll begin the process of germinating our mung beans into bean sprouts. I'm gonna rinse it with slight cold water. It's not gonna be frigid water, it's just gonna be light water, light cold water, and I'm gonna rinse it. And when I say rinse, I'm gonna rinse it a few times. Set it aside, and because I am soaking it, I found another one, so I'm just gonna remove it while I see it. It's gonna be leveled here. And because it's sitting overnight, I'm just gonna wanna put saran wrap over top of it so there's no dust that collects overnight. And then we can just set this aside, and it's just soaking, it's softening the beans to get it ready for germination. Hours, and my beans have soaked, and as you can tell, it definitely expanded, and you can tell that now it's 2 times fuller. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna get our prepping station ready. Again, this is the 2-piece colander. We're gonna stick this in here, and then we are going to put this on top. Again, this is about 1 inch. And we are gonna start layering. Another piece is a piece of paper towel, and I try to do it so that it's not directly on top of each other, so you can see where the layers are. Another sheet of paper tray, and again. And while you're spreading this out, you want to make sure that anything that's broken or already been opened, just remove it. Remove it from your batch, because these aren't gonna germinate or sprout, so there's no point in leaving in here, and you don't want it to influence or affect any of the other ones. All right, spread them out evenly. So here, I want to do our last sheet of paper towel. That's why we said for 3 layers, you need 4 sets of 2 paper towels. And make sure to keep them together. Don't rip them apart, because it just makes it easier for you to remove it later. And your very last piece of summer roll tray goes right on top. From here, what we're gonna do, I'm going to just water my sprout. This is going to be considered our afternoon. We're going to water it 3 times a day. I like to water it right after I get my coffee, right before I have lunch, and then right before I go to bed. So as you can see, I feel like everything has been soaked, everything has been watered. I'm gonna turn off my water, and you'll see that it's still running. The excess water is running off. So you're gonna wanna have the stream of water slow down a little, so you know that everything's seeping through the colander. I'm just gonna put it in my basin. And this, I think at this point, I can just layer it up. Again, notice how my bean sprout, this is only taking up about 2/3 or even 3/5 of the colander. You'll see that this is gonna sprout up, and it's gonna grow when the mung bean starts germinating. And here is my first 8-inch plate. This is gonna go right on top. You can either do a top or bottom, it really doesn't matter. The whole point of this is that it's gonna have weight to it, and it's gonna help with your bean sprouts growing straight up top. So I'm gonna layer it on top, put this on, and all I'm gonna do is cover it up, and I'm going to just put it in the corner of my kitchen. Day 2, it's starting to sprout. This goes here. We're replacing this with this. Cover it back up. We're back, and today is the final day of our bean sprouts. As you can tell, it has grown to its full potential. Super heavy. As you can see, it kind of got slanted, but you can tell that these are the 3 layers. And back to how we're gonna take this out nicely. I am going to separate this. This is the bin, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this right here, take a small paring knife and cut through the bottom.
And this is why that rice paper tray comes in handy.
Right, exactly. So when you take it out, it smells so fresh. To make your own. Here you see, that's where all the roots are. Just take it apart. Here, these are the green sprouts that you can use. You can see, that's how it looks like. And if you want it to, if you don't want to eat it, which you can, but if you don't, you can just cut it off. This is how it looks, and as you can tell, everything just falls right off. And basically that is why we use these rice roll trays. You just wash it. That's it.
So one layer gives you almost...
That's one layer. It's basically one bag of bean sprouts when you buy it. So each layer is like a bag of bean sprouts. And even if I use this, look, all this will come off. If I just use, again, the colander, make use of what I have, all the sprouts will come out at the bottom. Like this, once you shake it off. You can still use this. And all these greens, dump it out, and you just wash it, and it's ready to be eaten. Thanks again for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our K5 Adventures channel, and we hope to see you back here for future adventures. Thank you. Bye-bye.